Just a quick FYI, if you hear a kind of vibrating noise in the background, that is my cat purring. Sorry about that.
Shane Dawson didn't just know about my Bye Sister video. He offered to help edit it. He even offered to design the thumbnail and help title it.
Well, folks, Tati just dropped a bombshell, and the internet has been an absolute firestorm. She has finally broken her silence regarding the highly damaging video she released a year ago, and well, it does not look pretty for Shane and Jeffree. While she didn't actually show receipts for legal reasons, she was emotional and expressed remorse.
So, forgive my emotions. This is really difficult stuff.
Not only did Tati express her regrets, she specifically called out Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star by name. And guys, it is not looking good. According to Tati, Shane and Jeffree had been feeding her negative information about James Charles for months. She feels like they gaslit her into making a video. While Tati was actually concerned about James' arrogance and entitlement, she had previously considered Jeffree's negative comments to just be born out of jealousy.
None of my concerns became overwhelming until after I met Shane Dawson.
She also states that she has indeed heard the infamous voice memo, and she never felt like it was clear enough for her to go to the police. She also notes that it seemed to be cut from a larger conversation. She specifies that she never mentioned these specific accusations in her video, and she does throw some shade at the infamous Jeffree Star tweets.
I never called James Charles a predator, and I never said that James Charles was a danger to society.
She emphasized to her viewers that she did not make the video because of vitamins, and that it was the result of poisonous lies fed to her by both Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star. Tati also reveals that she ultimately privated the video at the request of YouTube themselves, stating they told her it was a bad look for the platform. Tati's friendship with Shane and Jeffree ultimately dissolved, and she states Shane never once even contacted her afterwards to see how she was doing. Tati shared it has taken her this long to come out with her story because of all the hate that she was getting online, and as a result, she felt like she was voiceless to speak up. She also mentions that she is terrified of speaking out against Shane and Jeffree. So much so that her lawyers actually have a hard drive full of texts in case something were to happen to her. She also tells us that she has moved for her own safety.
I believe that he actually held blackmail material on many people and was capable of destroying the entire community.
So, before getting into the backstory, Tati warns us about jumping on the bandwagon, stating that YouTube has become more toxic and we need peacemakers, which this outlook parallels her relationship with Jeffree Star. When she first met him, she knew that he was problematic and knew that he had a racist past, but felt she could be the positive change he needed.
I saw his pain and I felt that I could be a positive influence.
However, he ultimately used her as a pawn. She even shares that Jeffree manipulated the story regarding Jackie Aina attacking him, and as a result, she apologizes to Jackie directly.
The moment that Jeffree went off on you, the day before my first video collab with him went live, I should have run for the hills. I was naive. I was excited about the video. I got it twisted that you had provoked Jeffree because you were angry that I had filmed with someone who had a history of being labeled by others as a racist.
Tati shares that she and Jeffree ultimately didn't spend much time together and didn't keep in touch that often. Regardless, she still believed he was changing for the better, despite his setbacks. And even though she found his sporadic contact questionable, she kept overlooking her concerns.
But I always heard from him when he was involved in drama or when he had a new launch about to happen. Though I recognized this pattern, any suspicion that I had of being used was clouded by the hope that he actually cared for me and that I was a positive influence in his life.
Tati also acknowledges that Jeffree pushed her to become friends with Shane. After messaging back and forth, she actually invited Shane to her house to play with makeup. He told her she was his favorite beauty guru and that he wanted her to be in his docuseries, and also shared manipulative spiritual messages with her. Tati had seen some of Shane's documentaries and hoped that he would eventually help her to tell her own story.
He told me that God had called me to be a beacon of light for the world, so that it could be a better place.
In the earlier months of 2019, both Shane and Jeffree became progressively more negative towards James Charles. Initially, Tati chalked this up to jealousy, but as the messages continued and James' arrogance grew, she started to question herself. Also during this time, Jeffree began to manipulate the situation and gaslight Tati, telling her things like James didn't want to film the collab with her, that he actually wanted Nikki tutorials, but that Jeffree stuck up for her. He also exaggerated James' behavior at Tati's party, telling Tati that James was out of control and that Jeffree felt so embarrassed for her.
Over the course of the next few weeks, he and Jeffree fed me so much information that I felt sick. Almost every day, there was more information and new allegations.
Jeffree and Shane continued to pressure Tati to make a video and shared more and more and more alleged information with her, throwing out insanely serious allegations and suggesting they needed to do something to stop the situation.
He also shared that Jeffree had wanted me to have a small role in their docuseries, but the entire series was quickly changing because there was something horrible happening in our community with James Charles. He said that James Charles was a monster with many victims. Why would Shane sit in my home and spend so many hours telling me these horrific allegations if they were not true? Shane said that James Charles was a monster and that James Charles was hurting minors. Shane said he was planning to interview victims for the docuseries. He told me that something needed to be done to stop him from hurting more people.
They also stated once Tati released her video, more victims would come forward. Tati knew James was traveling, and she was concerned how he'd react to being exposed online. She was worried for his emotional safety. Shane, however, was not.
I texted Shane sharing my concerns for James Charles, that he was out of the country on the high floor of a hotel and I was afraid for him hurting himself. Shane texted me back and said that I should not be nervous about the 50th floor, that James Charles was a narcissist and that he would never do that.
Worse still, Tati shares that the day she planned to upload the video, Shane actually wanted to come over and film it live for his series. However, ultimately, no additional victims came forward, and Shane and Jeffree basically disappeared from her life. Tati believes the whole thing was orchestrated to get James out of the way for Shane's future beauty launch. James was planning to release a new beauty line that would have ultimately come out at around the same time. Once Shane's series with Jeffree Star was over, Tati tells us that she and James met up and compared notes, which is when they finally started to put the pieces together.
We apologized to each other, forgave each other, and agreed to wait patiently until it was safe for me to share my story. Since that night, James Charles has repeatedly said that he wanted to be beside me for this video. But I felt it was important that I do it alone, because he deserves my first apology.
The last few bombshells Tati drops are that she believes Jeffree Star co-owns Morphe, and that the plot was actually bigger than taking down James Charles. Morphe has currently denied Jeffree being a co-owner, and his name is not listed in the business's legal ownership documents. Tati also indicates that the statute of limitations is not up, seeming to indicate she is planning a lawsuit. She alleges that Jeffree is blackmailing everyone.
And it's also my opinion that Jeffree and Shane needed James marginalized and out of the way for their November launch of the Conspiracy Palette along with Shane's merch.
So there's a lot to unpack here. And both on YouTube and Twitter, there's debate about whether Tati is being honest. Shane and Rylan were both quick to respond with a few controversial tweets and a chaotic Instagram live, calling Tati a liar. Regardless of what all the facts are, the live does not paint Shane in a flattering light.
This is insane. This is insane. This woman is a oh my God. Oh my God. I'm going to wait till as many people get in here as possible because I'm losing my mind. Keep playing it. Keep playing it.
I didn't even know I was making a video. So how is it that so many editorial outlets knew that something was coming before I had...
Because you message drama channels. Oh my God. Oh my God.
I struggled with the decision
Oh my
to
God.
film my video for days. The night before I did film, Jeffree sent me what he claimed was an audio file from an alleged victim and told me to listen to the pain in her voice. The audio was clearly a small portion of the conversation. It wasn't enough for me to contact the authorities. It was enough to scare me.
Well, then why would you make a video on the matter claiming these allegations?
Because she is a fuck. I can't. I don't want to say mean things about people. This is insane. This is insane. This person literally, oh my God. Okay, sorry, keep pressing play. I need to get through this video so I can, oh my God.
As a victim of abuse myself,
Oh my God. You are so manipulative.
To think of facing public...
You're fake crying. You are fake crying. You are fake crying. That is not real. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I was molested. I have been, oh my God. That is not.
And I made no mention of it in my video.
Oh my God.
Get off.
The night before posting my video by sister.
Oh my God.
We can definitely learn a few things from this situation. The most important being we can't change other people. It is one thing to lead by example, but we can't save other people simply because we want to. Not only is it usually ineffective and exhausting, it can actually be dangerous to our emotional health. I've seen the Tati-Geoffrey dynamic play out in the real world too many times, and it never ends well.
In 2018, I saw from the sidelines what happened in Dramageddon 1 with Manny, Laura, Gabriel, and Nikita. That should have been to me some big red flag of what happens when Jeffree is unhappy with someone.
You can be kind, but you cannot change someone else unless they want to change for themselves. We also need to be careful about rationalizing the bad behavior of others. Mental health is frequently used as an excuse, a shield from all criticism. Individual struggles can actually provide context to how someone ended up in the position they're in, but it never excuses toxic behavior. Millions of people have mental health issues, and yet most somehow manage to not go around destroying everyone's life. A troubled childhood is not an excuse for a fully grown adult to avoid becoming a better person or seeking professional help to change their toxic behavior. A lot of assumptions are being thrown around, and I think we as outsiders may never know the full truth. While I appreciate what Tati has said, I don't think the manipulation from Shane and Jeffree absolves her of responsibility for participating in this situation. I'm glad she apologized, but the apology is up to James Charles to accept. It's also true that we have no way of knowing what James is like in his everyday life. We can't say for sure what exactly Jeffree and Shane did behind the scenes. However, we can judge them based on the image they have chosen to cultivate and the content they intentionally put out into the world. And for both Jeffree and Shane, their history of extremely racist behavior is not limited to a few small mistakes in their past. It was a continual pattern of behavior that occurred repeatedly for years and years. A pattern they openly put on public display, highlighting that they weren't the least bit concerned about the impact of their actions. It is behavior that Black creators have also called out for years, only to be ignored by most. I sincerely hope they have changed, but I definitely will not be holding my breath. I hope we learn to stop excusing problematic behavior. Doing a few good things doesn't excuse the extremely negative impact some of their actions have had. Everyone can be good sometimes. In the past few days, I've watched a lot of Shane's old content, and I now understand why children liked him. Besides the puppets and loud, obnoxious characters that are very typical of children's entertainment, he also displayed an older brother character. This close up to the camera, soft voice, everything's gonna be okay and I'm gonna take care of you persona. I'm sure that resonated with a lot of kids that were struggling and led them to not see the severe boundary violations occurring with Shane's highly sexualized content. Shane was well aware the majority of his fan base was very young, and he chose to behave very inappropriately with them. That was a conscious decision. No one forced him to do that. And he chose to put that on display. I mean, let this sink in. He had to plan those videos, plan the idea, the script, the jokes, the costumes, edit those videos, and then upload those videos. So he had plenty of time to reflect on what he was putting out into the world. Shane even pretended to get off to someone's real daughter, referring to Willow Smith here, and that actually is not the worst of his offenses somehow. Can you imagine being a mother and seeing someone do that to a poster of your child or little sister? Yet, despite Shane's supposed reformation, he has stayed silent on the whole Willow Smith thing, despite being called out by both Jada and Jaden. Like, he seriously can't apologize to them for that? Like, that wasn't an imaginary person, it wasn't a cartoon character, it was their family member. It was a family member who never chose to have anything to do with Shane. And yet, despite the backlash from highly prominent celebrities, he's remained completely silent. Yet, yesterday, within moments of watching Tati's video, he was live on Instagram letting us know what a liar she is. And despite his deleting frenzy, a lot of his inappropriate content is still on YouTube. Also, apparently, he does not think Shanae is offensive. He apparently thinks because he didn't do that character in actual blackface, it's fine. So regardless of what you may think of Tati or her video, it doesn't really matter at the end because Shane's own behavior has already told us everything that we need to know. Ultimately, I think the moral of the story is if you're concerned about someone you know, talk to them directly. And when people show you who they are, trust what you're seeing. We all should stop rationalizing problematic behavior. So, what did you guys think of Tati's apology? Was it genuine? Is she just trying to save face? Do you think there's still more to come? Who's going to speak up first? Will Tati eventually reveal all? Let me know in the comments below. While I do share my opinions on current topics, I also have some videos in the works regarding Indigenous adoptions in Canada and the resulting fallout. So if that's something you might be interested in, or you're interested in exploring any of these other topics, feel free to subscribe.